Bienvenida mi gente, welcome everybody. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo se encuentran mi gente latina? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Toma Todito Show. Welcome everybody. Thank you for checking this show out. Thank you for all your support thus far. And we are about 24 hours away from an amazing fight that's going to take place tomorrow, November 14th. Terence Crawford against Kell Brook. A lot of people are discarding Kell Brook, and I don't know why. Kell Brook is as live a dog as anybody in any division that he competes in. He's got speed, he's got power, he's got good ring generalship, he's got good movement, and good knowledge in there. He adapts very well. His speed is always what gets him in there. He's got a quick jab, quick pop, and the jab usually becomes the biggest issue for any boxer to adjust to. So Kell Brook coming in with a 39-2 record against Terence Crawford, sitting at 35, if I'm correct. What's he sitting at? He's sitting at 36-0 going into this fight. 36-0 Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford, what can you say? The man has exceeded expectations. Not a lot of people gave him a chance. A lot of people discarded him years back, and he slowly just keeps climbing up the ranks. He keeps impressing. He keeps winning in impressive fashion. He keeps beating the who's who's. Big names, not just resume builders, but big names that keep challenging him, and he just doesn't get his due. I don't understand why. Every so often we get these fighters that show up and are amazing fighters, and the people considered to be at the top of the hill, at the top of the heap, leading the way, yet they're not household names, yet people are not recognizing them. You could walk down the street, and if you're not a casual boxing fan or a hardcore boxing fan, just any sports fan, you'll ask them about Terence Crawford and they may or may not know who he is. Versus if you ask them about a Canelo Alvarez, or you ask them about Gennady Golovkin, you ask them about an Errol. Even Errol Spence has a little bit more popularity these days than Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford's been at it longer. So it's one of those rarities, right? It's one of those odd things that I don't understand. A lot of it has to do with promotion. I don't think the Top Rank has promoted him or done him right. Top Rank has focused a lot on the other fighters that he has, and they got their hands full, right? They got Lomachenko, who has by far taken the lead and taken the attention of the Top Rank promotional staff. That's where all the attention seems to be directed towards Lomachenko. It's tough, right? Terence Crawford's in a tough position because he's so good, yet doesn't get his due, yet people don't know about him. But everybody that's a hardcore boxing fan knows that he has to be number one, number two. Either one of those two positions, we would be okay with. It just seems that he gets forgotten about, and I don't understand why. He's a solid fighter, great IQ. He could fight with both hands. He could hurt you with the left and hurt you with the right. He switches stances. He's not dominant on either hand, which makes him scarier because he could take over the momentum and the flow of the fight regardless of the angle that he takes and that he utilizes. He adapts very well as the fight goes on, and he has explosive power from odd angles where he could just all of a sudden change the flow of the fight or take out the opponent at odd angles, right? He'll be ducking down, and it'll look to us as if it's a weak left-handed jab that he ends up connecting, and he drops the fighters. He has a lot of strength, a lot of pop behind those punches, and that's the scary part for any opponent that stands across the ring from him. Kell Brook has losses, and back-to-back losses at that, to Gennady Golovkin, who's at the top of the middleweight game, and Errol Spence, who's another fighter who is considered to be one of the top welterweights in the world, if not the top, give or take how you hold him and Terence Crawford in that welterweight division. Both of those came at the hands of injuries. He suffered eye socket injuries, orbital bone injury against Gennady Golovkin, and then he comes right back and gets his other eye and his other cheekbone damaged by Errol Spence in back-to-back fights, instead of having taken another decent fight in between, or another warm-up fight, or a fighter with a smaller caliber or of smaller caliber in between those fights. That's him. Kell Brook fights with all heart, and he believes in his talents. He believes in his abilities, and there's no reason why he needs to take any time in between. He trains hard, he works hard, and he fights hard. And he fights with a lot of heart, and look at him. He goes from Gennady Golovkin to Errol Spence, and now he's been on a 3-fight win streak coming into this, and you see his interviews, and he says he's more than ready. His weight is ready. He's made weight easily, and he keeps saying it on interviews that this is the easiest that he's ever made weight. He had no problem on the scales earlier today, and neither did Terence Crawford. True professionals stepping into the ring. No excuses hopefully will come regardless of the way that this fight goes, but it's hard to bet against Terence Crawford, but here we go. It's November 13th. Tomorrow will be the 14th, and we're going to be just shy of a month of having seen the takeover happen, right? Teofimo against Lomachenko. Hard to bet against Lomachenko, but look at Teofimo, his plan, and how he showed up. Different caliber fighters, of course, but wow, Kell Brook is in for a long night if he doesn't establish his strength and he doesn't establish his range and his jab that he usually fights behind and seems to be his go-to weapon of choice. Terence Crawford will have a tough time with that jab, in my opinion, but once he gets past that, I think that's the only obstacle that Kell Brook could present for him. Speed-wise, I think he could adjust to that speed and adapt quite well. Terence Crawford has a lot more strength, I believe, than Kell Brook, and I think once he adjusts and as the fight wears on, I think Terence Crawford will adjust just fine. And if he doesn't stop Kell Brook, Kell Brook doesn't have any of those lingering injuries or issues on his facial structure, and he ends up holding to a long decision, I see Terence Crawford stopping Kell Brook, if not possibly winning this by unanimous decision. It shouldn't be a close fight if it becomes a point-scoring fight once he figures out that jab. Now, if Kell Brook ends up finding that range all night, and he ends up standing his ground just like he did with Sean Porter, he's gonna give Terence Crawford problems, right? And he had that fight with Sean Porter, which reminds me to the approach that Yuri Ortiz Gamboa took a while back against Terence Crawford. Weird angles, weird movements, establishing his range, and it gave Terence Crawford problems all night. So Terence Crawford, of course, a different fighter now than the fighter that he was when he faced Yuri Ortiz Gamboa. A lot more exposure since then, and a lot more IQ that he's gained since then. Should be a fun fight. Again, it's going to be free on ESPN. Both fighters make weight. Both fighters are ready. Both fighters should be stepping onto that ring as true professionals. Let's hope that there's no drama, no excuses, regardless of how this fight turns out. It should be nothing but a spectacular showing and a spectacular event. And the winners are going to be us, the viewers. So enjoy the fight. Let's hope that this is a good, clean fight. And I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to be a one that we'll talk about and we'll be excited to talk about on the recap show. So take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you all soon.